Konica Autoreflex T. I want to talk just an overall talk about this camera. It has this one, the 1.7 50mm normal lens from Konica, and this is the last version of this lens. It goes to f16. I'm not sure if there's a f22 version. Anyway, this camera with the lens and with this leather genuine strap weighs exactly 1000 grams, 1 kilo, 2 and something pounds. It doesn't have film and it doesn't have the battery, so all together with the lens and strap. And I want to point out, I don't have the case here. The case that came with this camera, it's also all leather, so this strap is leather, and I believe this is a original strap that was came with this camera. I can tell you it's not that fun to remove from there. It's very strong. So anyway, and the case is all leather. I don't know what the prices was for this camera back in the days. Now you will see this on internet people saying it's a very reliable camera. Just bear in mind, yes, it was done strong and solid. In my experience and what I've read on internet, Konica cameras were not bulletproof. They had issues, mostly wear issues. But since these are very old cameras, this is from the late 60s, 67 or so, when it started to be produced. Well, they have been obviously, I think they have been used for quite a while, so keep this in mind when you read on internet that people say it cannot fail. Perhaps it's not true. This one has an interesting issue which I didn't figure yet. When I tried to screw in this lens, and it has the AR lens mount, so you can use the later Konica Hexanon lenses on it. This is AR mount. So you put this, you have a red dot there and a red dot on the lens side. You match the two red dots and then you start screwing clockwise. And normally it should be fairly easy to just, they tried not to grab this ring, so try to grab a piece of the lens. It's not easy, that doesn't rotate, and it's going to be this ring here, intermediary if you want. And normally it should be screwing easily, but this one does not. For some reason, these lenses, I put them on another camera which worked very nicely to put them on the camera. On this camera, there is a problem. It doesn't go all the way to click unless I force, and I don't want to force, and it kind of gets stuck. So something is wrong with the ring here. I don't think it's the lenses. There's no, again, I put this on another camera, no screws coming out, unscrew. The screws here are fine, so something is wrong in there. Anyway, all this to say that nothing is perfect on old gear. Again, perhaps another limitation of this camera is that it has viewfinder that is not the brightest, known to be not the brightest. Konica did put better viewfinder later on. And also the light meter, yes, it does have light meter, and I believe this is the probably not the first, but maybe the second camera from Konica that can provide automatic exposure. So you can set the lens to AI, and the camera will have, through the lens meter, light meter, do the exposure for you. What is interesting, and I cannot film this, but perhaps you may want to look, if I don't forget, in the comment section for the owner manual, is that it will tell you in the viewfinder at the bottom center the shutter speed that you will set. So for instance, now it has 1/2. It's going to show you here 2 at the bottom. If I will put it, goes through 1/1000. So let's say you put it 1/125, then it's going to show you 125 here. Also, it has an on-off switch, and this is important. Why? Because it also have to be very interesting people around here. It also turns off the light meter, which means you are going to save or not save your battery from discharging, and that's important because it takes two batteries which are no longer produced. And notice how the door, you need to use a coin. The door is metal. The replacement batteries that you may want to find to use is hearing batteries, 1.4 volts, two of them, and they're not going to last that long, but that's the only option. And also they are smaller diameter, so you may want to kind of put something around them to make sure they stay there properly, they don't shift left, right. And the original batteries were 135 volts, 1.35. So 1.4 volts, it gets close. 1.5 is going to get your meter too off, but you can may also just kind of make a table, you know, an adjustment table if you use 1.5 volts batteries. Again, I was saying that this switch here has on and off position. The off position, it's actually L, which translates to lock, because it also locks the shooter. So if there is a small dent here, if you see, if I put it by the L, I cannot fire up. I need to put a small dent or notch by the small red dot here, and then I will be able to fire up a shot. And again, when it's at this position, the light meter is on. So when you store your camera, you wisely are going to flip this to lock so you don't discharge your batteries. The ISO, it's in this ASA. You need to lift this thing here and to set it perhaps to 100, or depends on your camera. So this lifts simply. Now, if you want to set your shutter speed, you just rotate this thing gently and you put it to the correct speed that you need. This is to rewind the film. However, there is a safety mechanism for rewinding the film. You need to depress this button first before rewinding the film. I'm not sure how this works. I didn't put yet a film on it. You have this, the counter of films. But once you put a new film in there and you close the door, I believe, but may correct me, you need to shoot a few pictures until you get to position 1, a few empty pictures if you want, before you start shooting actual pictures. And also, once you shoot pictures, this button will pop right up back in its lock position. So that's just to reload the film. Also, we have a battery check button, which I find it's very nice and very aesthetically pleasant, because it's red on this silver trim. It says check here. Just press it. Perhaps it's going to show you some instructions here, indications. I'll put the owner's manual in the comments section. I believe this is metal here at the top, and also perhaps the bottom, and most of the camera it's actually metal. Even the door, obviously the door is usually metal, but it's very strong, solid feel. And also there is no ladderette. So later on, unfortunately, Konica used ladderette, at least from T4 model, perhaps early one, and that goes bad. It's replaceable, but this plastic trim, perfect, and will last perhaps a nuclear detonation. So altogether, the camera does feel sturdy, solid, not perfect, just like I say in other videos. Heavy. It's heavy. It's going to be really a matter of taste. It's very angular, has these sharp edges here, so it is not smooth to keep in hand like perhaps a Pentax will be, but that's how it is. I would say this is I was wondering, perhaps the T here, the meaning of it, perhaps there's a more thoughtful meaning, but to me this makes me think first at the tank. So it does feel like a tanker. If for whatever reason you've been watching perhaps the World War II videos, it does kind of remind me of a Panzer tank. Depends, because there have been several versions of Panzer, the Tiger, but with these angles, sharp edges, and just the brick kind of design and the weight to it and the solidness to it, it does feel like a tank. There's no tracks though. Anyway, the viewfinder, it's one limitation, and perhaps it's important to understand this before going to purchase one of these. Why? Because it's not a very bright, I should use carefully my words so there's no interpretation. I would say it's a viewfinder that's going to work nice in bright sunny day, perfect, no problem. In shadow and in less bright conditions, you are going to have issues focusing and also issues reading the light meter needle, because there is a needle on the right side, and unfortunately it's a black needle. It's not, so it's black on a black and red scale, mostly black scale. I can tell you, I had the T4, which has about the same viewfinder. Actually, I think the T4 had a slightly brighter viewfinder. I did struggle a lot with the T4 to read the light meter, to read it. So imagine this is even less bright. Again, depends on the light condition, but I can tell you that perhaps 30% of the time you won't be able to read the light meter easily or at all. That's one problem. The second problem is these are, the prism inside doesn't have a split center line. So I don't know if I can film this properly. The small circle in the center that you use to focus does not have that split line that was introduced in later models. I know the T4 had it. This one does not have it, and already without that line, when you adjust your lens focus, it's difficult to focus properly. It's not easy. Now, put on top of this a viewfinder that's less than preferably bright, and you are going to perhaps struggle with focusing your lenses, which is a major problem. I'm not saying it's going to happen always, but it will happen. And I want to point out one last thing, that this brightness of the meter, it's also related to the brightness, I'll explain in a moment, of the lens. So this lens have an f1.7. If you open the aperture at some degree or widely open, then being the lens larger, they are going to take more light in them. Now, I can tell you that I did use the 1.7 quite a lot, and what I've said about the viewfinder brightness, focusing, and light meter reading issue do apply very well to a 1.7 or a 1.8 hexanon lens. I also have the 1.4 f1.4 lens, one extra stop, and that lens is larger in diameter, takes more light than this one, and I can tell you that the improvement of brightness here and readability, it's already, I don't know how to describe this so you understand, but it's a notch above. It almost makes, I should say, this viewfinder, it will bring it one step forward, but we will still feel it's not bright enough. I'll give you an example or comparison. I did use the 1.4 lenses with the T4 model, which had a brighter viewfinder, perhaps brighter, I would say, by about, it's difficult, maybe 25%, let's call it that way. And the T4 coupled with the brighter 1.4 lenses still gave me some trouble in lower light conditions, the viewfinder readability. And I'm not talking low light like sunset. I'm really just talking a very cloudy day. That's what I mean by lower light condition. So if you want to use this camera, I do recommend try to get the 1.4 lens, f1.4 lens, hexanon ones, no matter the version of them. Is going to help you more with this viewfinder, but you will still struggle again in certain lower light condition. Also, I believe, yes. So I just want experience perhaps about how it sounds. I did make another video for this. I've read there is this very good, I mean, it's a reference basically, the B, I will spell it BUHLA.com perhaps, website, or you just search Konica Autoreflex T Owner's Manual PDF. It's going to redirect you, I believe, to that. No, I believe there's two websites. One is Buchla, that has a review of cameras and lenses, and there is another website with manuals. I'm inside the park here. So if you search perhaps Autoreflex T review BUHLA, you will find that website, which covers all perhaps or most of the cameras and lenses from that time. And you will find on that website, which is very nice, it has a brown background, brown, I think. So you'll find plenty of information. Now, I did read about that website, some comments about these cameras, and the person who wrote the website said that the shooter here, this kind of shooter, is very loud. I don't find that. I did have the T4, and I also have now the FC1, and to me, the shooter sound is very nice, actually, not loud, and very satisfying, especially if you are in mechanical cameras, right? So I think I'm surprised why he says that. Perhaps maybe he tried without the lens, then yes, it's fairly loud, fairly clacky. Let's listen to this. Yes, maybe then, but don't think there are many people who are taking pictures without lenses. It's not going to work either. Anyway, so I don't think it's a loud shooter. Maybe the person was comparing it to a quiet camera somehow. I don't know. But it's perfect to me. I want to say that this button, it does take a little bit of, it's not a force on it, and it don't need to force on it, but it's, I'll give you a just keep it there and just let it go. You'll see what I mean. So it does have some pressure, and this to me, it's exactly what I'm looking for on a mechanical camera. I want to feel things, right? But maybe at some point, depends how you keep this camera in hand, it may, depends. If you keep it steady, I don't think it's going to shake the camera the moment you take a picture. I don't think it's that level of pressure, because the camera is already fairly heavy, fairly big too. So I don't think it's a problem. I think it's actually a positive thing. You feel something. And again, it's not going to forcing down on it. It's not the level. It's just fine. Also, the lever here is very, very pleasant and tactile, I think that's the word. The only complaint that I would have is kind of it's slim. I wish it was thicker to kind of grab it or feel it better. And also, it's, if I'll try to wiggle it, it does wiggle a bit. So it's not that, I don't know how to say, obviously it needs to have some play in it, but it's not going to feel like you are reloading, sorry for the comparison, a tank, right? It's just, perhaps I wish it was thicker and sort of beefier and more like tactile to feel, but it's still fine. Also, I really like this, that you need to push it to stay there, and if for by accident you just pull on it, it springs right back in there, so you cannot really kind of, well, You can a little bit, depends how you grab it, but I think it stays there normally. It stays with some pressure. There is not a lot of saying about the rest of the buttons. There is no real tactility. Is that a word? So it's not a lot about the feeling of the camera. It's about holding it, the weight, and the shutter feeling, and also film reloading when you operate it. That's the fun part in it. And obviously the pictures that you take with the camera. It opens here. I believe this is one of the, I don't have a film to show you, but it has one of those easier mechanisms. You just put the film up to maybe this point and just toss it in there and close the door, and it should grab the film. Again, just follow the numbers of the film advance, and perhaps you need to shoot, like I said, 2 or 3 pictures before you arrive at 1. 2 or 3 lost pictures. Don't, well, can always use a subject, but perhaps is not going to develop them because they are going to be exposed to light when you install the film. Yes, always with these cameras inspect the light seals. 2 things about these light seals. So they should be slightly soft. If you put your finger and you notice it gets black, then it's perish for sure. I would say don't take chance. If it doesn't look like a springy foam, replace it. There is one here. There's going to be one here, this one, and it's not going to be that easy to replace. There are videos showing this or on forums, but be careful because these seals, the older one, genuine original ones, when you try to remove them, they kind of melt in a black gunk, which is going to stick to everything, not just your fingers, but inside. So just follow the, hopefully you find good instructions. Notice the serial number here. Later camera did not, well, I think they did stamp serial numbers perhaps at the bottom, but it says Japan, made in Japan. So I was saying carefully with replacing those seals, also identify the location. I did replace them on one camera. I don't remember exactly where they were. I know there is another one at the bottom here, and you should never touch the mirror. And again, also even more important, should never try to clean the mirror. No matter what you think, please read forums, because these mirrors scratch and smear extremely easily, and you are going to regret trying. I don't know if there are more light seals in there. It seems to be just one at the end here, but perhaps there's sometimes there may be one behind this. Also, don't touch the prism. Notice perhaps I was talking about screwing the lens, and there seemed to be a mark, something rubbing in there. I don't know if maybe this camera was serviced and not put back correctly, probably in place. One owner said on internet that the mirror stops had to be replaced, bump stops. I don't know where those could be. Perhaps it's this one here. Maybe this is, yes, this is the stop. I don't know, it looks like there's a tiny screw on it. It's just on left side. Never touch the curtain, so those are fragile parts. Anyway, we'll end the video saying this has a self timer. I'm not sure how this works. Let's try to load the film. I don't know if it works this way, this way. This seems to work. It looks. It's interesting. We can see. Perhaps I'm going to put my hand behind the camera. Oh no! You see my phone camera on the mirror. Again, careful read before trying to clean the mirror. It's totally a special job. Also, you have a depth preview. I don't remember how this works, but if I would put a mirror it says in there, and I have set an f-stop. If I put, kind of closes the diaphragm to the position that's going to be used during the when you take the picture. And I don't know, let's just remember I didn't use this thing. Maybe read on internet how this works. I don't know this feature. I never used it. You can read the spread, if you want, of the clarity area in the picture. You can read it directly on the lens. So if you are, depends on the focusing. Let's say we put the focusing like this. Let's try with feet. So at this point the aperture is set at 8, and if I look at this, so this is the aperture scale and this is the depth of focusing scale. So this is a scale used solely for the depth of field, depth of view evaluation. So everything that's inside this scale is going to be clear, everything outside is going to be blurry, especially behind the subject. So if I set aperture to 8, I will look on the scale, identify my 8 here and there, and the clarity area, and we are talking depth here towards the subject, is going to range from 10 feet or 3 meters if you want, which is adjacent to the first 8, up to this one. It's harder to read. The second is going to be somewhere, I will guess, in between 15 and 30, so perhaps 20 feet. So the clarity area is going to be between 10 and 20 feet. Sorry for the not centering this on camera. So everything inside 10 to about 20 feet is going to appear clear. Everything past that is going to appear blurry. So, you know, for instance, if you have some objects past the 20 feet mark, those objects are going to be blurry in the picture. So it's going to give you that bokeh. So now let's try a different aperture. Also notice this scale doesn't have all the numbers, so you need to sort of interpolate between them. For instance, if I move the, I will take a picture of f16, then I will look, let's say we set the focus this way, then I will look at the number near 16, let's move the focus. So you focus on your subject, right? That's everything between 5 feet away from you, from the camera, and 10 feet is going to appear clear, more or less 5 to 10. Past 10 feet, everything behind is going to appear blurry or bokeh. So this way you just know to position your subject, but also know to position subjects out of the clarity area, and this way you create your bokeh. If you want it, obviously it's your option. So that's about this camera, and I do recommend them if you don't mind the heavy weight. Again, like I said, it's 2 pounds and something with this lens attached to it, which is, I think it's considerable. I mean, it's not going to get your hands tired, but if you walk 2 hours with a camera like this on your shoulders, you are going to notice it. If you don't mind the viewfinder darkness, I will call it that way, if obviously the light meter works, but like I did a video, and there is very convenient ways to also use cameras, mechanical cameras, and estimate by yourself without any kind of light meters or batteries, estimate the exposure time for your conditions, estimate the aperture opening for your light conditions. This is what people did before cameras had light meters. So I did show this in a separate video. Imagine back in 1930s, 1940s, even 1950s, vast majority of owners had cameras but did not have any kind of light meter, not even a standalone one. And everybody was taking pictures still back then, right? Good pictures, not bad pictures. So there is ways to use cameras without any kind of a light intensity device reader, so something like this. It's not difficult, and it's very, very doable.